I'm with Marlynn McNutt of Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. And Marlynn, this whole show is we're talking about African influence. And when you say that a big part of the African influence is using a lot of natural stones and natural pieces and organic, correct?
Yes.
And that also branches out to some other countries that we're going to talk about too.
It does.
But let's start off, you brought along some wonderful pieces. Now, bone is probably something that comes to mind immediately when we think of African influence.
Yes, and bone was used by humans long ago for ornament. It's a byproduct of the food industry. So it's hard enough to wear well.
Right.
But it's also soft enough to carve and work with easily.
And you could see some gorgeous carvings that we have there too. Yeah.
Yes, it can carve into shapes. Also, the bone pieces can be scrimshawed or etched into to provide designs on the outside.
Wow, stunning. And what are some of the other things they do with the bone? Can you dye them? I see you've got one in different colors there too.
Yes, they take up dye. They're just porous enough to take up dye or color very easily.
Look at that. You wouldn't even think it was bone when you see the colors.
No, no.
And then of course with the beads too.
Yes, the beads are also dyed. And the graduated strand there on the pad, those are actually carved.
Wow.
They're carved bone. And then the pieces in the big necklace.
We're going to get to that. You can see all those gorgeous carved bones there.
Yes.
And then you put it all together and look.
Yes, yes.
I love the use of all natural elements in this necklace with the natural turquoise and the silver.
It works well with a lot of different colored gemstones. And some of the pieces in that necklace are actually animal bones. Wow. They are already hollow down the center so that they can be strung naturally, and there are fish vertebrae in there.
Wow.
Just all different kinds of things that you can incorporate
into jewelry, and you'd never think naturally of doing that.
No.
That is absolutely stunning. And one of the other elements that we think of with the African influence is probably wood.
Yes.
And you brought along some great examples of that too.
Yes, wood is readily available. It's easy enough to carve. It can be carved into shapes. Beads can be carved into different shapes, as well as carving on the outside of them.
Wow. And of course the different colors too of the wood.
The different colors, the different varieties of the woods show the different grains. And as you can see, they can be laminated, as in the colored bowl, and dyed with different colors and then put together.
That is so pretty.
It is.
I love
It's very
that.
unusual.
Yeah, and then you've got the bigger one next to it too.
Yes, that's actually rosewood.
Wow. And then you've got the chopsticks.
The chopsticks are inlaid.
Oh.
Actually, wood is easily inlaid. They also use natural materials to inlay into the wood.
And what are these other interesting pieces that you have next to the bowl?
The one with the onion dome on the top is actually myrtle wood from Oregon.
Wow.
And the one out front is dogwood. And the darker one off to the side is ash.
Wow. And of course, you know, it's not just good enough to look at the beads. You want to put them together and make a gorgeous necklace that you want to wear. Look at the different variations you have there.
They combine well with other natural products as well as the gemstones. They also fit right in with the bone and the gemstones themselves. Wood can be also hand painted. So you can see the designs on that particular strand.
That is amazing. Well, you know, as I mentioned earlier, not only do we have the natural and organic elements in Africa, but it also spreads out to the Far East and in Asia. And you have some wonderful things that you brought to us from Thailand.
Yes.
Now, are we going to be looking at, like, sort of the flowers? Of course, when you think of the beautiful flowers in Africa, there's some gorgeous flowers in Thailand as well.
There is. And these are all natural flowers, and they go through a process. They're picked from the garden or the market, and they're picked for their freshness and lack of discoloration or spots.
Those are gorgeous. Wow.
And then they're gently trimmed from the stems, and they're placed into a bowl of silica sand.
Wow.
Then they're gently covered with the sand, and they're put into a covered dish.
And how long are they kept in there?
Well, they're done in the microwave for just a few minutes.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, it's this
You would never think of microwaving flowers.
Yeah, really. And then they're left to dry overnight.
Wow.
And once they're dry, then they're hand painted with this silica solution. I'm sorry, resin solution.
Resin solution, okay.
And this hardens them and gives them a base to work with so
Right.
that they can go ahead and apply more. Once these flowers are dried, then they're dipped in the silica solution. Excuse me, the resin solution.
Resin solution, yeah.
And this usually happens about 3 or 4 times. This gives them the firmness to work with and to last.
So it's a longer process than
It's a
just
little
like
longer.
overnight. Yeah.
Yes.
But you want them, if you're going to be creating something gorgeous, you want to make sure that it's sturdy enough to work
Right.
with.
And then they're
look
put
at
out
this.
to dry.
Now, how long does the drying process take usually?
It's usually overnight. And then the stick is broken off of the back and they're filed down. They're sanded just a little bit. This takes off the excess resin solution, and it also files off any burrs or imperfections in the petals of the flowers.
So I guess my question would be, although you put the resin solution on it, it's sturdy. It is sturdy enough to file.
It is.
You know.
Yes, once those 4 coats of resin are put on there, the flower is actually workable. You can work with it, file on it, do whatever you need to do to it. It is sturdy enough.
And of course, when we use them, this process is already done for us.
Correct. Correct.
Which is great.
Okay, and then the next process is that they airbrush them for color. So all of the color is actually added later. Then they're left to dry again after this process. And then they're sanded.
Gorgeous.
And the sanding then is followed by a drill process, and holes are drilled into them. And a finding is actually attached to the back side.
So that we can use them.
So then you can incorporate them in jewelry.
Love
And
that.
after that process is done, they're completed.
And I love that you brought along some great examples of this. I mean, these are fantastic.
They are.
The individual, the variety of the color. I mean, it really is like it's plucked from nature. And then we're seeing all of these single pieces, but now let's look at them all incorporated into the jewelry pieces.
Yes.
Stunning. What a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, they really are. They're a wonderful product.
Well, thank you so much, Marlynn.
You're very
it's
welcome.
great to learn about all this stuff.